Good afternoon. Welcome to our webinar today, where we're going to demonstrate an innovative approach to securing information that's discovered by McAfee DLP system. My name's Lynn Courts. I'm the host of today's session, as well as the VP of Marketing at Seclore. Before we begin, just a couple of housekeeping items. If you have a question at any time during the presentation today, just take a look at the lower right-hand area of your GoToWebinar screen, and you can see a spot there where you can type in the questions. What we will be doing is responding to these throughout the presentation today. Also note you are all muted during the presentation, so the only way to really communicate with us is via that question and answer session there. So now let's get to the presentation. Our speaker today is Vishal Gupta. He is the founder and the CEO at Seclore, and he's going to take over from here. Vishal?
Thank you, Lynn. Thanks a lot for the introduction. And hello, everyone. Good afternoon. In today's session, and this is a very short session, just about 25 minutes or so, we're going to talk about how can information which has been discovered by McAfee DLP secured, and especially in the context of that information going to uncontrolled environments like to external users, to cloud applications, and to mobile devices. And then towards the end, the last 10 minutes, we're going to see an actual working demo of the two technologies, which are Semantic DLP and Seclore File Secure, which is the rights management system from Seclore, how they work together to deliver a powerful solution for protecting information within and outside of the enterprise. A little bit of background about Seclore. Seclore is a focused information rights management solution provider. We are present in 22 countries, starting with Singapore and going all the way to US West Coast. And we are now crossing nearly 3.5 million, 4 million users. Over a period of time, Seclore has been recognized by industry as well as analysts as one of the leading IRM solution providers, including Gartner and Deloitte and so on, Kuppinger Cole in Germany. And over a period of time, we also have some of the largest enterprises and governments in the world using Seclore's technology to protect their most confidential information. Right. So coming to the context, DLP systems were designed and built in an era where a lot of times the collaboration was within the enterprise, and then the DLP systems essentially came and put almost like a firewall around the enterprise to control all methods of egress as well as ingress of data. Right. So the confidential data should not leave the enterprise through network applications, through endpoints, through storage systems and collaboration systems. And for that, DLP systems, of course, over a period of time, evolved various methods of controlling emails, web uploads, chat messages, information and content lying on desktops and file servers, and so on. Right. Now, the purpose of all of this capability was to prevent confidential information from going out. Right. That's the fundamental premise or the fundamental value proposition of DLP systems in general. The reality of the modern context is that a lot of information needs to go outside. And over there, it is not possible for the DLP system to block it, because the business users want, or the business itself wants, that this information be provided to external agencies. So examples of this scenario are, for example, confidential information may be required to be sent to a supplier. So, for example, RFP documents or customer or payroll data being sent to service providers. Third-party workforce of all kinds. Confidential pricing information or bid information to customers, as well as contracts and other kinds of information, confidential information to partners. Now, these are scenarios where confidential information is required to be sent to an external agency. Right? similar or same confidential information a lot of times needs to be accessed by mobile devices. So it's possible that this information either by the employees of the enterprise itself or by third-party workforce or suppliers needs to be accessed on uncontrolled mobile devices. And the same information is also something which needs to be put on various cloud services, for example, file sync and share services or transactional applications like Salesforce and so on. Now, as soon as information needs to go or actually goes to an uncontrolled environment like an external agency's computer or a personal mobile device or a cloud service, the scope or reach of the DLP system gets restricted today. So the DLP system is restricted to only while information is within a controlled environment of the enterprise. Right? So, and therefore this conflict where information needs to go to uncontrolled environments, but the DLP system's rules and policies prevent it from being from this information reaching there. Right? And therefore, it is today creating, with the proliferation of mobile devices and cloud applications, and in general extended collaboration with the value chain, it causes a friction between business users and the DLP system. Right? So let's look at it from a security and compliance perspective. Right? So from a security and compliance perspective, the ideal situation would be if the DLP system could be extended to these external agencies, or could be extended to cloud applications, or could be extended to personal mobile devices and so on. And that's the ideal situation. But this DLP system getting extended to these agencies is not really feasible, because then we have to cover all of these scenarios, right? So the DLP system has to be extensible to third-party workforce, to mobile devices, to business partners, to cloud applications, and so on. And now this is, in parts, it may be possible. For example, it is possible for a DLP system to start talking to an MDM system so that policies can be exchanged and so on. But as a comprehensive offering, it's difficult to implement. And therefore, this conflict between external collaboration, right, on one side and the DLP system. So let's leave this aside for some time. Let's leave this rather amorphous requirement of extending DLP to external agencies or uncontrolled environments aside, and let's look at a different technology for some time. And then we'll come back and combine these two. So the technology is secure file security. It's a rights management system. And what rights management system, for those of us who are not aware, is what rights management systems do is, in a rights management system, let's say you take any sort of information, right? It could be board communication or nuclear plant design or patent information or payroll, right? And you put the information. And then around this information, what rights management technologies or secure file secure specifically allows is definition of usage policies. Now these usage policies are answers to 4 questions, which are: number 1, who can use this information? Right? So who can use board communication, who can use nuclear power plant design, who can use payroll information, and so on. Right? The most important thing here is that the answer to who could be people or groups within and outside of the enterprise. So it could be, let's say, the internal executive team and an external board of directors and an external general counsel, right? Who could be the users of board communication. Similarly, a service provider could be, who's working on a project, could be the rightful user of an extremely confidential nuclear power plant design document, and so on. So who can use this information? Number two, what can each of these people do? So can they read, can they edit, can they print, can they forward, and so on. Right. So actions that can be performed by each of these people. Next is how long can they use it? So can they use it only for the next 5 days, or till the time a particular project is being executed, or till the time the employee is an employee of the company, or till 28th of September, right, a firm date and time. And the last is from where can this information be used? So trusted devices, trusted networks, subnets, and so on. So the usage policy around this information is embedded. Now, for each piece of information, there could be a different usage policy, but typically there is some amount of aggregation. The most important thing here is that the usage policy is taken and embedded in the information itself. So the information, the document, the email, the design or drawing is embedded with this security or usage policy. Now, the benefit of embedding the security policy in this information is that now if the information goes to people within the enterprise, or more importantly to uncontrolled environments and people outside of the enterprise, the information itself is now aware of its own security, and therefore even if it's accessed on an uncontrolled device or an uncontrolled application or by an uncontrolled let's say relationship, as a part of an uncontrolled relationship like vendors who are not vendors anymore and so on, the information itself is aware of its own security, and therefore it's almost like a dial back home. So coming back to now our earlier context, we look at all these uncontrolled environments in which corporate confidential information is going, but using a combination of DLP and secure file secure, what is possible is that information within the enterprise is controlled because of the capabilities of the DLP system itself, but information going outside of the enterprise is kind of sent with a little bit of string attached, so that the information itself is always looking at the security policies of the enterprise and implementing those security policies in terms of who can access this, what can each of these people do, when and from where. Right. Now what this combination of technologies does is that it provides enterprises with a seamless method of controlling the use of this information while it is within the enterprise, as well as when it is leaving the enterprise boundary and perimeter. Right. So coming to the context for today's session, Seclor and McAfee have partnered to bring this combination to enterprises. What this combination can do is, number one, detect confidential information based on content or classifications that have been configured. Apply usage controls. So apply usage controls like who can do what with this information, when and from where. Third is allow this information to go to uncontrolled environments like external agencies, cloud services, and mobile devices. Then, of course, control the usage of this information. So what are each of these external agencies doing? Which are the cloud services? Or who are the people who are accessing it and on what devices and so on? And the last bit, and this is the interesting part, is be able to monitor information as it is going to external agencies, to cloud services, and again to mobile devices. So audit and get a visibility of what is happening to information, not only within the enterprise, but outside of the enterprise also. So who actually did what with this information, when, and from where? And that's really the power. And the most important thing is this whole thing is applicable to information within or outside of the enterprise. So it does not matter whether the information is within the enterprise or it is going to a business partner, right? The same controls are applicable. So with this context, I'm going to shift into a demo for the combined system. Let me shift over here. Yeah. Okay. So in this demo, what we have is a combination of McAfee DLP and secure file secure. What we're going to first do is log into the file secure console, right? And Secure is an SIA partner of McAfee. Right? In the file secure console, this is what a secure file secure policy looks like, where let's say for information around delinquent customers, right? If I just go back a little bit, right? Information around delinquent customers, the people who are allowed to access this information is, let's say, the internal revenue assurance group and Anna and Mike from the business partner, who's in this case, let's take an example of a business partner who's responsible for calling all the delinquent customers and follow up for payments, right, on let's say mortgage or credit card. Right? Now, a limited set of people. What can each of these people do? So can they view this information? Can they edit? Can they copy data out of a protected document? Can they print it out? Can they take screenshots? Run macros, pull control, take it offline, which is access it, let's say when they're on a flight. The flights nowadays have Wi-Fi also. Forwarded to redistribute is forwarded to other people. And then we've got additional controls like time and device and network-based controls. So these controls being defined, right? So this is what the secure file secure policy definition look like. Who can do what, and then additional controls are where and when. Right? Now with this, and this policy definition is really a 1 or 2 minute job. With this context, we log into the McAfee EPO admin screen, and over here we are defining, for this session, we are defining a very, very simple policy in which we are looking for a specific text pattern and then applying the secure file secure policy on this content. Right. So in this case, the DLP discovery policy is that we're going to look for keywords like credit card and overdue, right? Because we're looking for delinquent customer information, right? And that's the discovery side of thing. And then on the action side, what we're going to do is that McAfee DLP version 9.3 onwards comes with a secure file secure connector built in as a part of the base product. So any McAfee DLP client who's running with DLP version 9.3 onwards, by default gets this capability of connecting to the secure file secure system. So coming back to this context, once the content is discovered, one of the actions could be apply rights management policy, and over there, the policy itself can be chosen right from within the McAfee DLP console. And so in this case, we are choosing the policy which we just defined, which is the delinquent customer data policy. And that's it. I mean, that's where the administrative task really ends, that we've defined who are the people, what can they do, and so on. And then we've defined a set of content patterns or discovery rules which will actually go and implement this policy on a piece of information. So now what we have is a delinquent customer Excel sheet, data Excel sheet is actually created, right? Which has the right keywords in this case, right? Now, as soon as that information is created, the McAfee DLP system goes and tags the document, classifies it, and then automatically, based on the policy that we just defined, it automatically applies the secure file secure policy for delinquent customer data. And the way this is visible is, I don't know if the icon is small here, but there is a red block which is visible, which shows that now this is protected information which is controlled by the policies of the organization. Right. Now, once this is done, the information can travel over whatever medium of communication, emails, USB drives, all kinds of file sync and share services. And when someone tries to access this information, one of two things happen. The first is that the first option is that the user is one of the users who's allowed to access that content. Now in that case, after going through an authentication cycle and a single sign-on and so on, so the person doesn't have to log in again and again. But whenever that person tries to access this information, he or she is first shown what are his rights to the document. So in this example, you can just view but not edit, not print, take screenshots because this itself is a screenshot, and so on. And only after this policy is accepted by the person, right, is where the real content is displayed. And while the real content, the actual customer data is displayed, right, if any unauthorized attempt is done, which is, let's say, an attempt to edit the document, right, then the secure file secure usage control policies come in and prevent, for example, unauthorized editing, unauthorized printing, like so, and even unauthorized copying of content outside of the document. Right? So if part of that content or the whole document is copied and pasted somewhere, then the actual content does not get pasted. A predefined message is the only thing that gets pasted. The second option is that an unauthorized user is trying to access this content. Now, if an unauthorized user, let's say anybody outside of these two agencies which have been allowed to access confidential data of the bank or the credit card company, right, tries to access this content, the access itself is not allowed, and all the user sees is the fact that he does not have access, but not the actual content of the document or the email, right? Because the document now is aware of its own security policy, right? Now, the last bit here is that not only can the combined system of Secure File Secure and McAfee DLP control information as it is going to people within and outside of the enterprise, it can also monitor what is happening to this information as it moves within and outside of the enterprise, right? So there are some really powerful auditing capabilities built into this combined system, which, for example, monitor the complete life history of information. So who protected it, who accessed it, who viewed it, who attempted to print it and that was not allowed. So all authorized activities as well as unauthorized attempts are captured and reported back into the central console, and this information can make for some very nice information flow monitoring. Right? Aggregations, dashboards, reporting, all these are capabilities which have been built into this combined offering of McAfee DLP and Secure File Secure. Right? Given the paucity of time, we are not covering through each scenario, but there are very, very detailed auditing and monitoring capabilities which are part of the system. So that's, it's a very simple demo. There we've showcased how the McAfee DLP system can detect confidential content based on policies. It can automatically apply a usage control policy on that content and then allow that content to go out to an external agency, for example, or to a mobile device, right? And then based on these policies, the usage is controlled. Right. Okay, I think we've come to the end and just about in time. We have another 3 or 4 minutes. So for any of us from Europe who are attending the InfoSecurity Europe event, which is towards the end of this month, please come and see us at stall N90 at InfoSecurity. We'll be there if you're interested. Or you could write to us specifically if you have questions around how does the whole integration between McAfee DLP and Secure work together and what is the ways of provisioning of the system. Please write to us at McAfee@secure.com. And of course, information is also available on our website and on our Twitter handle. Yeah. Right. I think we've been taking questions on the around the during the session, but please write to us in case there are follow-up questions outside of this session also. Lynn?
Yep, thank you, Vishal, and thank you to everybody who joined us today. I hope you found the session of value, and again, hopefully we'll see some of you at InfoSecurity in a couple weeks. Have a good afternoon.